The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of this radio station, its management, or its sponsors. Listeners are urged to use their own discernment to draw their own conclusions.
Good morning, Noonan.
Welcome into Rhino Radio Mornings on this TGIF edition. I'm Ryan O'Neill.
I'm Andrew Polanas.
That's my lovely bride sitting across from me this morning, as always.
It's Friday.
It's a TGIF. Yes, it is. Welcome into the Friday edition of the Rhino Radio Mornings. Thank you for tuning in here as we get you ready for another weekend.
So the weekend is upon us, right?
Yes, indeed.
So it's safe to say that now?
Yes, indeed.
All right. You heard that, ladies and gentlemen, as if, you
didn't know.
Yeah, I guess they know.
Well, I have to remind them. Just like, sometimes. Well, let's talk a little bit about, we got some headline news coming up for you. But, it's one of those things. Starting to see some unusual things. I want to learn more about these targeted individuals.
Well, for those of you who are listening and you wonder what in the world we're talking about, I do a social media ministry. It's something I kind of started because I haven't, God just hasn't opened the door for me to practice ministry in the more traditional ways that we're all used to. I kind of figure, I know that he's doing something new, like he wants to, come up with some fresh new ideas on how to reach people for God and for Jesus Christ. So, the devil uses a lot of social media and things to hurt people. But then again, God can use it for good. So I started a social media ministry. If anything, it gives me a little practice, and then I can watch myself and know where I need to improve and things like that. But God's just never opened the door for me to, practice ministry in the more traditional way. Well, in the process of me developing this social media, I call myself a social media evangelist, but I started out a street preacher years ago. And then the street preaching just kind of evolved into social media. And so in the process of doing all that, I've got a lot of different followers from all different walks of life, but one group that particularly follows me call themselves targeted individuals. And this was my first time ever discovering that such a thing existed. I just discovered it. It hasn't even really been like a year. If you're on YouTube, go to targeted individuals. Just go put that in the search, and it sounds a little crazy at first, because it did to me at first. But then, because the people it's happening to don't understand what's happening to them, and nobody around them will take them seriously, or they just want to call them crazy and things like that. And then they get on social media, and then they find other people that it's happening to, and then they all get together and they compare notes, and then they realize that there's no way you can be crazy. There's no way I can be crazy because we don't even know each other. We live in two different parts of the world,
Right.
and we're experiencing the exact same thing, and that can't be just something in your imagination. Like, for instance, if I hallucinate, this is just an example, if I were to be having a hallucination, I would be hallucinating out of my own mind, right? Mm-hmm. So my hallucinations would be uniquely mine. So another person wouldn't be able to see my hallucinations, and another person wouldn't be able to have the same hallucination that I do. So, and there are cases where you hear stuff like that, but honestly, I believe those people get together and to make those stories up in a lot of cases, for, you know, attention and things like that. But in reality, in real life, you know, the voices in your head is going to be saying something different from the voices in this person over here's head, because you're each a uniquely different individual. I mean, just look at your fingerprints, for example.
But this is not about voices in your head, though.
No, this is actually, these people claim that they're being targeted. They're not really sure who. Some of them think it's the government. Some of them are just labeled as psychotic. But when you get in there and you listen to them, and they make sense. I mean, a psychotic person, someone who's truly is psychotic, wouldn't make sense like that. I mean, you know, because there is a such thing as having a mental illness like psychosis and things like that. But these people are from all different places, and they've never met, and they don't even know each other, but they're all telling, like, their stories are so similar that it's concerned me, and I'm sure that it's concerned a lot of people. And now I check everything that when I hear somebody say something, I'll go and check it. I'll go and research it. And there was one, there's some guys, and these people are from all countries. There's Asian people in there. There's people from all over the world claiming that they're calling it electronic harassment is what they're calling it. And I know that just around here in the little town I'm from, and just around here, some of the kids around here talk about something they call an imp gun, and you can make it from, you know, pieces of an old microwave. And it's something that can make electromagnetic waves, and if you aim it at a person, it can cause them like physical pain. It can cause them mental anguish. It affects everybody differently.
Well, you know, I don't think that a lot of the kids are into that. I don't know who's into that, but it seems. Well, I don't know about that, but I do understand that after researching these targeted individuals, I listened to watched a couple of their videos, and I was like, huh. And then one was saying that he said, you know, that what really stood out to me the most was they target you to make you look bad in your community, to make you, you know, and it could be somebody just doing a simple podcast like a garden podcast or a mechanic.
Yeah, I saw that video.
And I was like, really? And he said, it's just if you have influence over people, they don't want you to have influence over people.
Well, there was a military document.
And I'm like, wow, why? Don't make sense to me.
Let me find this military document.
Go ahead.
What he's talking about, this individual, we're going to put this on our social media so everybody can see what we're talking about. But this one individual, I can't think of his name until I pull it up in front of me, is talking about the military. He's got documents from the United States Army.
Oh, that's not the same guy, I don't think.
I think it is the same guy.
Okay.
Claiming that they're talking about empowered individuals and how they undermine the interests of the United States, and these are individuals who have a lot of influence in their communities. Give me just a second. I'm going to let Ryan talk while I look it up.
No problem. And while she looks that up, what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you that the health care bill that has been passed in the White House yesterday. President Trump signed it into declaration, signed it. Here is what's in the House-approved health care bill, and I'm going to play a little bit of that for you so that you can hear it.
Congressional Republicans celebrated in the White House Rose Garden today after the House narrowly passed health care legislation to replace the Affordable Care Act.
This is a great plan. I actually think it will get even better, and this is, make no mistake, this is a repeal and a replace of Obamacare. Make no mistake about it.
That bill now goes to the Senate, and here to explain what is in the bill and how it's likely to change is NPR's health policy correspondent Allison Kojak. Hiya.
Hi, Robert.
House Republicans did today what they failed to do back in March when House Speaker Ryan had to pull the bill for lack of votes. What changed the bill so much to make the difference?
Well, the original bill, the conservative wing of the House Republicans, which are known as the Freedom Caucus, really thought it kept way too much of Obamacare in place, and so they didn't like it. And then the more moderate side was worried about pre-existing condition protections and other regulations that are in Obamacare being protected. And so they couldn't get the votes together at that point. So what they did in the meantime is basically create a compromise where state governors can apply for waivers to get out of those Obamacare regulations, those protections for consumers, which pleases the Freedom Caucus because it gives people more freedom to buy different kinds of insurance, but it also technically in the federal regulation keeps all those protections for people with pre-existing conditions.
Well, the Congressional Budget Office said that the earlier version of the bill would have cost less than Obamacare, but it would cover 24 million fewer Americans. Why don't we have a clear idea of what impact this version of the bill would have?
Well, in part because we haven't heard yet from the Congressional Budget Office. There have been a number of amendments to the original bill, as I mentioned before. Since then, they have allowed these waivers, and there's no saying how many states really will accept them, although, you could do a poll and figure out how many governors are interested. And they've created a variety of funds to help people with pre-existing conditions if they are left out of some of these insurance plans to help them get coverage. And they have offered other changes in the bill that the CBO hasn't scored yet. So there's some sense among experts that this is going to cost more because they put more money in the bill, but it may, in those states that go for waivers, have fewer people covered even.
The CBO is the official scorer in these matters.
It's the official scorer.
If this bill were to become law as it is, who would be the big winners and who the big losers by its passage?
Well, the big winners would be younger, healthier people who would probably see their insurance premiums go down because they wouldn't be subsidizing people who are older and sicker. And those are exactly the people who might lose, are the older, sicker people who would see their subsidies really go down so that they would have to pay much more for insurance, and people on Medicaid. There's Medicaid expansion in Obamacare, and that's being rolled back in this plan.
The bill now goes to the Senate, where Republicans have a much slimmer lead, 52 of the 100 seats. Do they need, in this case, just 51 to win in the Senate, by the way?
They need just 51.
Not 60.
No.
What's likely to change in the bill over there?
Well, there are a lot of senators who are already saying they're very worried about that Medicaid rollback, the Medicaid expansion rollback. So that's one thing that's going to be on the list of things that may change. And then there might be some more protections for people with pre-existing conditions in these state waivers, because there are a lot of members of the Senate who say they are worried about people losing coverage.
After which, if all that happens, it has to go back and be approved by the House again.
Exactly.
Okay. NPR health policy correspondent Allison Kojak, thanks.
Thanks, Robert.
All right, that's from NPR, All Things Considered, and that is the House bill that went through yesterday, approved the new health care plan through the new Trump administration.
Okay, well, we were talking about the targeted individuals, and
Correct.
what you can do to find out more about targeted individuals is go on YouTube and or Google, or I recommend YouTube, and just put targeted individuals in the search, and a lot of people are in there talking about their experiences being targeted. The information that I have, I'm posting it on our on our the radio station's social media if you just bear with me a moment.
Well,
it is RSOF, which stands for, hold on a minute.
well, see, my only question about it is the reason I'm thinking about it or talking about it was after seeing this guy's video and hearing his explanation, I didn't really, there was not a lot of things that I focused in on. The only thing that I really focused in on was how he said that some targeted individuals, and this is a unique thing, that they're made to look like they're crazy in their own communities where people had respected them, and then also that if they were just doing something as small as a garden podcast and everything, and they had people that were just following them, that they were targeted because they were, and that what don't make sense to me is just because you have a lot of people following you on that, what are you going to change them? You're going to change their mind on gardening and eating the right foods? Oh my goodness, that's terrible.
But I think that and I'm posting this on Facebook now on WQEE on Facebook, and I'm going to share it on the page. What they're primarily concerned with is if you're a very influential person, then you can persuade a lot of people one way or another. And if you're going to persuade people, it has to be what they want, how they want you to persuade them.
Oh.
I posted something. RSOF stands for Army Special Operations Forces, and they have this operating concepts 2022. It's it's published. It's the U.S. Army Special Operations Command, and it was published on the 26th of September 2014. And it talks about a lot of things in here. And I'm going to just tell you ahead of time, it's not the type of language that civilians, when you read this document, it's not the type of language that just everyday average civilians can interpret. Yeah. It's English now.
Yeah, no.
But it's just not the kind of, the way the sentences are structured, unless you're trained to understand what they're talking about and the full meaning of, you've got to understand their communication style to really understand what they're saying. But what they're trying, if you go in here and kind of read through it, what they're saying, influential person is, they're calling them empowered individuals or super empowered individuals. Okay. And these are people who have a lot of influence in their communities over people, Now, what really concerns me about this is how much influence like entertainers and people like that have over a whole lot more people than just someone in their community that's talking on the radio about what's going on in that community, or just somebody that's a popular person in a little town in the middle of nowhere that nobody's ever heard of.
That is a good question or a good thought. There's these celebrities have more influence on our lives, but if you really think about it, a lot of them have a bad influences over us, and maybe these people are trying to have a good influence over somebody.
Well, when you go in and you look at these people on YouTube, they look like just everyday average people. I mean, some of them they're not rich people. They're just, and they may not be rich on purpose, you know what I mean? Like, if they're being targeted because maybe from what I've been able to understand is these are people that I guess they're so mentally, there's something about their how they're wired mentally that they can't be controlled like the rest of the population can be controlled with propaganda and lies and fake stuff. Like, I guess these are people who are like that little, you know how you always have like that one little person that doesn't go along with the crowd?
Right.
They're those kind of people. They're the kind of people that don't go along with the crowd, you know.
So they're the kind of people who...
They're standalones, is what they call them, standalones.
So they're the kind of people that sat back during our election and was like, this is all fake, I'm not worried about either side. They're the kind of people that didn't fall for either side. They're the kind of people that when it comes to seeing something on television, oh, that's fake news, or watching a TV program, man, that couldn't really happen. They think outside the box, basically.
Well, that may be the way the people. Okay, I'm not 100% convinced that this is really happening to these people. I think something's happening to them, but I'm not convinced it's the government.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be, maybe. You know, I've found more evidence that it could be our government more than I've found any evidence that it could be something else, but it could be something else going on. I mean, you know, but for the benefit of the doubt, I'm just going to go along with them for a second. Now, that may be how the entity that's doing it to them sees them as potentially dangerous people. If we let these people get rich, or if we let them get powerful, they would undermine the rest what we're trying to do.
Accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. Wow.
That may be how it looks to somebody like that, but to the person that it's happening to, they're basically just the kind of people that think it's wise not to get involved in everything. You know, they don't want to just get out here and get involved in everything because they don't see themselves as the type of people that would undermine a government or anything. They just see they see themselves as people who are smart enough to know how to choose their battles. And most people, if you're that smart, if you're so smart and intelligent that you could overthrow a government or cause something, a riot or whatever, then you're not going to simply just get out here and abuse the ability to do that. And honestly, these type of people don't care anything about doing all of that.
Yeah.
They're just happy, living a normal life, helping where they can. And honestly, most of these people are good people. They're all good people. They're not the kind of people that would get out here and do any harm to anybody or go against a government. But they're also the type of people that would speak up if they felt like it was going to do any good. They would speak up.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing that, in conclusion on this, on both sides, if there's somebody that influential, if they're being targeted, the person targeted needs to not worry. Because here's the thing. Just because they have an opinion don't mean it's going to change everybody else's. Society, most people are have a certain way of thinking, and that's it, and it's never going to change. Very few people change their minds. So these targeted individuals shouldn't be targeted because they're not going to change people 110%. They may change one or two people, but there's millions of other people out there. And if these people that are targeting them they need to think like that too. It needs to be both sides, and you think, hey, let's don't worry about it. This world is, world's messed up like it is anyway. But like I said, the only thing that was strange to me was knowing people were taking people away from their community, supposedly making people look crazy in their communities.
Well,
now, that was the only unusual thing out of this whole thing to me. Everything else was just like, okay, that could happen, that can't happen, that could happen, that can't happen.
well, right now I'm just examining all the information. You know what I mean? I'm not really drawing a conclusion right now.
Yeah, I understand.
Because I have learned that everything doesn't always look like what it is, and you can't just go with one story. You've got, you know what I mean? You can't just take one person's story and think it's true, you know. And some of the way they word this, they're comparing like the Ukraine, Iraq, and Syria, and so honestly, this might be like, and they're saying that there's with technology, and when they talk about these empowered individuals, they're in here. It talks about the concern that with the internet, you know, and the way that people can communicate across globally now through the internet,
Right.
that more of these empowered individuals are going to come together. Now, honestly, that sounds a little bit kind of like ISIS, but
It sounds conspiracy.
well, it does sound crazy. But now you got to understand now, government leaders and military leaders and people, when you run a nation, let's just put it this way, when you run a nation, there's certain things have to be kept confidential. You can't,
Exactly.
there's certain things that go on when you run a nation and when you're in an important leadership position where you're responsible for an entire nation of people and their safety. There's a lot of things that have to be
There's things
kept confidential.
Yeah, there's certain things that cannot be let out of the bag.
Yeah,
or whatever.
just like in big companies and in corporate, you know, there's confidential information, trade secrets, things like that, that only the top leaders have access to some of this information. And honestly,
different.
I personally believe that the reason why that it should be kept confidential because people, the everyday average person out here wouldn't understand it.
You're right.
They would go into a panic.
Right.
Because
exactly.
I've seen people get a letter in the mail that they didn't understand, didn't understand who it came from or anything, and start panicking, thinking all kind of crazy stuff. I mean, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Because they see our leaders in our government. They have access to way more information than we do. So they know, honestly, I'm just going to have to say it, they know more than we do. They know a whole lot more about the ugly, horrific stuff that goes on out here in these other countries. Not only they know stuff that they could never let us know that's going on in this world because we couldn't handle it.
Well, I agree 100%. What I'm saying, I agree with you, and I agree with you that they know things that we don't know, and that we could not handle. They are trained to handle that. There are certain things that we should not know as a society.
There's some things we just don't need to know.
Yeah, I mean, we have to sit here and understand that that's all part of life, and to try to go, well, they're keeping a secret. You know, maybe they're keeping a secret for your best interest. The same way parents do from kids sometimes. The same way some family members do from other family members. It's just in the best interest of their family.
Well, you know, kind of like the way parents, they don't say certain things in front of their kids, especially when they're little. What's the point? They wouldn't understand it.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's some things your kids come and ask questions about. They're not old enough. And you tell them, when you're older, I'll explain it to you. Because they wouldn't understand.
Right.
That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Our government has to do things like that because there's no way we would understand it. I mean, I'm looking at this document and I'm telling you it's English words, but this type of language is military language.
Right.
And unless you're familiar with military language and you've been you've been exposed to it and you've been in an environment where this type of language is used, you wouldn't understand it.
Right.
Now, I can figure it out, but the thing about it is it doesn't matter how much research I do, There's some things I'll never find out. I'll never be able to research or go anywhere to find because it's kept confidential.
Right, and that's there's always a good reason behind that. You know, I've always said that these people are doing a job that we can't understand. All these presidents are doing a job that we can't understand, that we can't do. That's why I feel like sitting around discussing politics and saying what you would do different, or you don't agree with the health care bill, or you agree with the health care bill. You don't know. They're doing what they know what they're doing and what's the best interest for us. We are going to sit here and say, oh, I know this, that, and the other. Just because you don't like someone that's in office doesn't mean that they're not doing, that you can do the job better than them. Because really and truly, it's a job, and it's a harder job than we think, and there's things they got to keep.
Well,
go ahead.
One thing that I am against, and I'm against blaming everything on the president. And I realized that we were wrong for doing that after I watched Donald Rumsfeld's The Unknown Known. Mm-hmm. I realized then when Donald Rumsfeld was talking about how he almost ran for president, or it was talked about, and when he just laughed about that and shook his head because he didn't really want to be president because he was up there in the Congress. See, those people up there in the Congress and in the Senate, they've been up there for 20, 30 years. You know, a president's only there for 4 years. Mm-hmm. The people who are really doing and running everything are in the Congress and in the Senate because they're there the longest.
Right.
So the president is just a figurehead. I mean, yeah, he has some power and everything, but there's only so much he can do in 4 to 8 years.
Right.
The people who have been there for 10, 20, 30 years, the ones that are up in their 70s and 80s and they're still there, those that they've been there since the 50s and 60s. You know what I mean? Those are the ones that I really would worry more about than just some guy they're just putting up there for 4 years.
Right.
You know?
Well, we're going to take a break. Stay tuned. Rhino Radio Mornings continues after this.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of this radio station, its management, or its sponsors. Listeners are urged to use their own discernment to draw their own conclusions.
Good morning, Noonan.
Welcome into Rhino Radio Mornings, the final hour of this week on this TGIF Friday. I'm Ryan O'Neill.
I'm Andra Polanis.
You're listening to WQEE 99 Rock the Key. Got a lot going on in the community we're going to talk about coming up this weekend, but first want to let you know, great weekend programming, and of course, we want to let you know, tune in all weekend long. Starting today, we've got great 70s programming. Around midday, it's Rocket Man Roberts from 12 until 1 o'clock. Actually, from 11 to 1 o'clock, I should say. It's a Friday edition, so we're going to be doing Rocket Man Roberts, the best in 70s and 80s, you know, and artists that made it into the 90s from those eras, as well as great music till 7 o'clock tonight, 6 o'clock tonight. It's Mike Overnight taking you up to 10 o'clock with the best in the 70s and 80s. 10 to midnight, it is Noise and Attic. Yeah, the best rock and roll music, hard rock music from Aerosmith to Iron Maiden with Greg from 10 to midnight. Then midnight to 3 a.m., it is the one, the only Dave Scott bringing you Spaced Out Radio, Paranormal, Ghost, as well as UFOs and more, Bigfoot. It's from 12 to 3 a.m. Then 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., the one, the only Catching a Wave with Jammin' James Riley, the best in beach music year-round. The repeat of Noise and Act from 4 to 6. And, of course, the repeat of Catching a Wave. Then following by Catching a Wave, we've got some great programming. We've got the Car Talk Show. We've got... a few other shows tomorrow, and our You Bet Your Garden show, and then around 11 a.m. it's the one, the only Coweta Health, Happiness, and Harmony Hour with Dr. Lewis Bolton from 11 to noon. Lot going on here at WQEE.
I'm telling you.
So, a lot of great programming.
I enjoy listening to the Coweta Health, Happiness, and Harmony Hour. I learn so much.
I do too.
I mean, I think about things that honestly, I enjoy listening to it because it gives me a break from the other things I have to think about, and it's very interesting things that we all really need to be thinking about, like our environment and the different things that we can do that are like how gardening was therapeutic or is therapeutic for you psychologically.
Right.
I believe that's true. I really do. Because back when I was talking to my grandmother, and she was telling me how they grew most of their food. I mean, they didn't have stores around to go shopping. And she was telling me that, if they did go shopping, it was just to buy stuff like flour and stuff like that. But they grew all their vegetables and everything.
Right. Much healthier.
And look, they were more productive people back then. And healthier, because they were eating their own
homegrown food without pesticides and everything. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's one of the good things about this show. You get to hear all kind of different things, from Earth Day to gardening to just tips for your mind and body. And that's what the show's about. Now, if you have a great idea for a show, we'd love for you to be right here on the radio. If you want to, you've got something you're an expert in, and you've always wanted to be on the radio, and you could say, hey, put two things together. You're an expert in this, but you've always wanted to be on the radio. Do it. It's perfect for attorneys, accountants, other physicians, perfect for what else? Churches. Who else would be perfect for? Women's groups. I mean, come on, ladies. I'm thinking about, I think this is a great idea to have a women's group on the radio so you can get your points across, because there's not very many programs out there directed towards you ladies.
Well, what we're looking to do is we're looking to add some special programming that focuses on, issues like diversity and inclusion, women and minority-owned businesses, money management, healthy lifestyles. It could be something along the lines of a handyman show, a gardening show, anything dealing with health, or it could be a legal show.
I'd love to have one of those.
Yeah, where every week they talk about a different, like 1 week they might talk about, debt relief and bankruptcy and stuff like that. The next week they might talk about family law. The next week, probate, wills and estate, things. And then they could have people like calling in and asking questions, or they could interview special guests. They could share tips. Now,
some of these other ones you were talking about, some of these other shows, that's a great idea for a show. I love that. But like the ones you were talking about, business owned and women shows, how would we do something like that?
We would just get different community leaders. Because talk radio addressing these key issues, anytime you put a talk show on your local radio station that addresses the key issues that are impacting your community, it actually becomes the ideal platform for community leaders to engage in these discussions. And what it does is it's interactive, because it allows the public, it allows the whole community to be involved. It's really a good way for leaders in the local community to interact with their constituents in the local community. It kind of makes them feel like they know you.
Right.
Because I know there's some teachers, like y'all know I study the Bible and everything, and there's certain Bible teachers that I feel like I've listened to so many of their lectures and read their books that I feel like I know them, even though that person wouldn't know me at all. If I walked up to them and said hi, or whatever. But I would already feel like I know a lot about them. So
right.
So what that leader did was that leader established a rapport with me through their teaching, even without even knowing me personally.
Right.
So now, and if you're an attorney or an accountant or an investment specialist.
Yeah.
Or say you're good at marketing. You're good at, you're a doctor. You're good at nutrition.
I want all these shows on here.
Just all kinds of different things. Then when someone, calls up and makes that appointment, to come into your office and sit down, you don't have to break down you don't have to spend that time building a rapport with that person. You can get straight into, you can it makes more valuable use of your time because you've already built that rapport through your radio show and through, your social media. So when that person actually makes that appointment to come into your business and sit down and actually have a consultation with you, that part of the relationship's already been established. So you can just move on to asking the necessary questions about what they need from you, so that then you can let them know what you can do for them that can address the issues that they have more specifically. And lawyers can't really do that on the radio because each person's different, and when a person tells a lawyer something, it has to be confidential.
If you guys think about this, that's a lot of great ideas, a lot of great show ideas we're coming up with, and this is a better benefit for you as a person to be part of the radio show. This becomes your radio station too, and then you're part of the local community, which this station is part of the local community, and we have been getting a lot of support from the Noonan area here at WQEE 99 Rock the Key. And so we want you guys to get the support as well and be where you need to be. Be where people are listening, which is WQEE, and bring your specialty to our station just by giving us a call at 678-673-6318 or shoot us an email at 99classicrock@gmail.com. I would be happy to set an appointment up for you to come on and sit with us. I'll speak with you on how we can run the show. We do have a program set up now. We do have a clock set up for the program, how you would do your program and everything. And we won't get into that on the air, but we'll talk
because no two radio shows are set up identical.
Right.
It just depends on what the subject matter is going to be.
Right.
And what type of approach you want to take. You want to take call-ins, or you want to, interview special guests, and you might want to do something different, every week. So we can help, set that up.
Okay. All right. Well, here's some things going on in the community. I know here's some key events for you coming up here today and tomorrow in Sharpsburg over at the Faith Baptist Church. They are having from now to 7 p.m. tonight. Same way for Saturday, 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Both nights they're having a yard sale, a DR fundraiser for their yard sale. It's located at 4907 East Highway 34 in Sharpsburg. That's Faith Bible Church. They're having a big yard sale, so go by. They'll probably have all kind of items you can use. Plus, they'll probably have cakes and stuff. You know how the little old ladies like to cook them pound cakes and stuff. So a lot of great yard sale items today and tomorrow at the Faith Bible Church, 4907 East Highway 34 in Sharpsburg.
Yeah, we need to get them in here to talk about how to cook. They need to teach everybody how to cook, do a radio show.
Yeah, there you go.
This is how to make a cake.
And other things going on in the community, it is market day this weekend. We'll talk about that momentarily. But what's going on at the library?
Let's see. Exercises medicine at 11:30 a.m.
Ooh, that's today.
Beating with Elizabeth, celebrating moms at 2 p.m. Now, it says they're closed on Saturday and Sunday this week.
This weekend, yeah.
And then Monday, exercises medicine at 11:30. Ooh, 11:30 exercise. I might have to get in on that.
Yeah, be a part of that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be great. So that's some of the things going on at the library.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And, of course, coming up this weekend is Market Day this Saturday, starting at 10 a.m.
Oh, yeah. I've got to make sure I get some of that honey.
Mm-hmm. They got all kind of things going on this weekend here in downtown Noonan. Of course, we'll be here at the station tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be here with Dr. Boynton doing the Health, Happiness, and Harmony Hour.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, the Market Day is tomorrow. It's going to be going on from 10 to about 2 p.m.
I know. I hope they do like the face paintings. And they also invited all musicians to bring their acoustic instruments and just kind of sit around on the side of the sidewalk or whatever and play your instrument. Do some cover songs or something.
Yeah. It's going to be a good weekend. Plus,
sing some songs, yeah.
Plus, we have Keep Noonan Beautiful this weekend having their event where you can bring you can bring your items to be shredded. They'll have that where you can shred paper documents and everything. And also, they're going to have it where you can bring and drop off all your devices that you don't need to recycle. You know, everything from cell phones to fax machines and all that. Now, there is a charge for television sets, $20 for them to take them off, and a charge for another little item as well for $10. But everything else, you go and find out at keepnoonanbeautiful.org and find out what all they are accepting for the electronics.
Yeah, I think I have a few old modems.
Yeah, they'll take those. That's something else
that I need to get rid of. You know, back when we just had the DOCSIS 1 modems and the DOCSIS 2. But paper shredding is something that if you let it get behind, you will literally spend days going through papers. I'm going to keep this stack. You got to keep stack and a shred stack.
Right.
And when you start shredding, I mean, you sit there and you put one paper through the little shredder at a time. It could take forever.
Right.
You know, when you can just drop it off, when having something like this go on, you can just drop it off and get it and then spend your time doing something else.
Exactly. You can be part of the Market Day. See what it is. Come downtown, enjoy Market Day, get some of that honey. Go and drop off your events, paper shredding and electronic recycling. It's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. right behind the City Hall at 25 LaGrange Street. Paper shredding is free for residents of Coweta County. Atlanta Recycling Solutions will be on location to collect all those old items. It is CRT monitors recycling for $10 each, television recycling for $20 each. Everything else, those are fees, but everything else is free. Everything from toners, cartridges, dock stations, game controllers to batteries, VCRs. We still have those scanners.
I heard they were making a comeback.
You think so? And all that tomorrow with Keep Noonan Beautiful. So thanks to Paige and her staff over there at Keep Noonan Beautiful. Go to KNB at cityofnoonan.org for additional information. Also, they're having another thing going on tomorrow.
What?
Howard Warren Community Center ribbon cutting is tomorrow, and city officials will be there. It's 11 a.m. at the Howard Warren Community Center, named for the professor, an African-American educator for whom the building is named for. This is for a new Boys and Girls Club for the community. The Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta will be there. Mayor Brady and council members will be there. City Manager Mr. Phillips will be there, and other partners. 11 a.m., 55 Savannah Street is where the ribbon cutting will be tomorrow.
Now, that's something that to get involved in if you really want to make a difference.
Yeah.
Anything dealing with children.
Yeah.
Something that helps kids. Because, you know, our children are innocent. Sometimes they're involved in bad circumstances because of what we adults do. Right. And they can't help it, you know. And so I feel like anything you do for a child is God's going to bless you for.
Right.
I really do.
Right. Well, this is definitely a weekend to be all kind of things going on here in Noonan. And, of course, today's Cinco de Mayo, too.
Cinco de Mayo.
We didn't say anything
La
about it.
Fiesta on Jackson Street.
Yeah, and they're going to have some specials today, too. So, you know where they're located at, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yes.
believe me, I know where La Fiesta on Jackson Street is because I love to eat there.
And they're right across the street from us, correct?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, because we're in the New Link building above it in the Washington side, but that's where we come in. But if we look out the window, we can see the Jackson Street.
They have some good chicken cheese quesadillas.
I love chicken cheese quesadilla.
Some guacamole. Woo!
You getting me hungry now.
I know. I'm getting hungry thinking
You
about
shouldn't
it.
be doing that, darling.
We might have to go over there when they open up.
You get me all hungry.
Get some chicken and cheese quesadilla.
You're
with some
teasing me.
salsa and chips.
Look at you teasing me.
And you know, they have the white cheese dip.
She's just teasing me, folks.
I better quit talking about it.
Yeah.
Yesterday was Tease Day.
Yeah, but you had your thong on yesterday.
It doesn't matter. I wore it for nothing because you said that wasn't what Tease Day meant.
That's not what it meant.
Well, we be more clear next time before I go through all that trouble. Those things aren't comfortable.
Come on, honey. You're a red. Come on, honey. You're a redhead. You knew better than that.
We're married, ladies and gentlemen. Just everybody probably already knows we are, but just in case you're one of the few that
Don't know.
are just now tuning
Oh,
in,
you didn't know?
we're a married couple. All you have to do is just park outside the radio station and hear us arguing in between the songs. Isn't it funny
that's more entertaining, isn't it?
Isn't that funny how married people argue?
They do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I don't.
I mean, well, think about it. You're going to be when you're married. It's supposed to be a commitment forever, and when you're committed to somebody forever, you're gonna argue. That's just normal.
Yeah. Or are you just gonna shut your mouth and listen to what she has to say, guys? That's the best approach to it, right?
Right, ladies.
Right, darling?
Right, ladies. How many times do we just keep our mouths shut about the same old thing that they keep doing over and over and over? And no matter, because you just say, well, it doesn't matter what I say. He's not going to listen.
No. I'm not saying that.
I've already tried to say something. He won't listen.
I'm saying that the best advice for guys is to keep our mouths shut and listen.
Finally, you start throwing things at him because you just had it. You take that shoe off and
I'm glad I never got a shoe. That's why I buy those flip-flops for you.
Oh, that's why I wear these earth shoes and not spiked heels.
Smart, ain't it?
You shouldn't have told me that.
I'm a smart one on her. I'm a smart one. We're going to take a break. Stay tuned. More Rhino Radio Mornings after this.